Welcome to the Thursday Nightmares channel. Today's story: The Footsteps on the Stairs. It was a cold winter night in New York City, and I was locked in my room, reviewing a script for an audition I had the next morning for a theater play. As a budding actor, every job opportunity was crucial, and I needed to be prepared. I lived alone in a small apartment on the third floor of an old building in Harlem. The neighborhood was relatively quiet, but there were always stories about strange things happening at night. The distant hum of traffic and the occasional sirens were part of the usual background noise, but that night, something more sinister was about to unfold. I could hear the soft sound of my script's pages as I flipped through them, completely immersed in the words. Suddenly, an unexpected sound shattered the silence. It was the sound of heavy footsteps ascending the building's stairs. At first, I didn't think much of it, assuming a neighbor was returning home late at night. But then the footsteps stopped right in front of my door, sending a chill down my spine. Without thinking, I called out the name of a friend who sometimes dropped by unannounced. "Mike, is that you?" I asked, hoping for a familiar response. But all I heard was absolute silence. A wave of nervousness washed over me, but I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just a neighbor passing by, and I had imagined it. However, as I approached the door, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the stairs, as if someone was fleeing in a rush. My heart started to race. I backed away from the door, now fully aware that whoever had been there wasn't my friend. Fear began to set in as I pondered what to do. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? That I heard someone running down the stairs? I decided it was best to let it go and lock the door with every bolt. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the incident from my mind. I shared the story with some friends and family, but they all dismissed it, saying it was probably just a neighbor in a hurry. Yet the feeling that something was wrong never left me. I started hearing noises at night, faint taps, as if someone was trying to get in. But whenever I checked, no one was there. A week later, I decided to move to a new apartment. I found a place in another part of the city and started packing. The night before my move, as I was finishing up, I heard the same sound of footsteps climbing the stairs. This time, the steps were slower, as if someone was deliberately approaching. The footsteps stopped right in front of my door again. This time, I didn't call out to anyone. I knew that whoever it was, they weren't welcome. I stayed silent, hoping the person would go away. But then, something shocking happened. The front door, which I had locked, started shaking violently, as if someone was trying to force their way in. I ran to the kitchen, grabbing the sharpest knife I could find. I was trembling, the terror gripping my body. The banging on the door grew more intense, and I felt like it could give way at any moment. Suddenly, everything stopped. The silence that followed was terrifying, almost worse than the noise. I stood still, my breath shaky. After a few minutes, I mustered up the courage to look through the peephole, but no one was there. The next day, I left the apartment in a hurry, not looking back. I moved to the new place and tried to forget what had happened. But the story didn't end there. Days later, I heard some disturbing news. A body had been found in the basement of my old building, wrapped in plastic bags. The victim was a woman who had been missing for weeks. The discovery made me question whether what I experienced that night was connected to the crime. Maybe the killer was using the building as a hideout. Maybe I had been watched by someone with malicious intentions. I tried to push these thoughts away, but they kept haunting me. I knew that if I had gone down the stairs that night, it could have been me instead of the woman. A few months passed, and I was starting to feel safe again. But one night, in the new apartment, while I was lying in bed, I heard a familiar sound. Footsteps, slowly making their way up the stairs. My fear returned with full force. Whoever or whatever it was, it seemed to have found my new address. The sound stopped right outside my door, just like before. I couldn't move, only waiting. Then, with a loud click, the apartment lights went out. Panic seized me, and I rushed to grab the knife again, but when I turned on the lights with my phone, I noticed something terrible. My door was open, as if someone had entered. I turned slowly, sweat dripping down my face. The darkness of the hallway seemed thicker than usual, and I felt that something or someone was there, watching me. Without a second thought, I bolted out of the apartment, running down the stairs as fast as I could. I never went back. I left New York, moving to a small town in the countryside, hoping to find peace. But what I didn't realize was that, no matter where I went, the footsteps on the stairs would follow me. Because, for whatever was chasing me, the hunt wasn't over yet.